Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of We Say Things with SUNSfan and syndereN. How are you doing this evening, young sir?
What accent is that? Is that Texan?
It's definitely not. It's an old timer. I don't know what I'm doing right now. Just play along, pretend it's a good one.
I'm good. I've been awake longer than I think in any previous episode we've recorded, so my voice is probably better. Isn't that great?
Well, I think it's also better because I made you put a pop filter on your mic so that you don't go poppity poppity pop. That's great.
Pop.
See, that sounds terrific.
Awesome.
Anywho, of course, I forgot to mention that we are sponsored by nobody, but next week I do believe that we will have our first official sponsor, so I'm very excited. This podcast is available on Apple, Google, Spotify, everywhere to your heart's content that you listen to any of your podcasts, and make sure that you guys rate us well, syndereN, because what do they get if they rate us well? And leave comments. Read the first one.
There's a good chance your comment gets read out.
Mm-hmm.
If you leave a good review, if you leave a bad review, we're not gonna read it out. So,
yes.
I mean,
that's how it works, of course.
That's how it works. Yeah. Should I read out the first one you said?
Yeah, read out the first one.
All right. So I got a couple of new good reviews. Of course, if you guys think this show sucks, just don't rate it instead of leaving a negative one.
Somebody's going to go to the trouble to do that. I don't doubt the internet.
So we got one from my boy Crafty Veteran 21. This podcast is truly fantastic. SUNSfan and syndereN discuss a variety of topics with nuance and insight. Things like philosophy, classical music, art, and more. I don't think we've covered any of those, but that's cool. Both individuals provide a seamless blend of their high IQs with spunk and sass. Best syndereN sub. You just need to sign it that it's a subscriber. Paid comment.
Excellent. And the second great review that we received was by Kavach, who says, finally a great podcast for a game I love. A promising start with two of my favorite Dota talents. The lack of Sun's Nugget apparel being worn, however, is an absolute bitter disappointment. And
Wait, does that exist?
That does. Do you know what the Sun's Nugget is?
Yeah, I do. I didn't know you had shirts with it.
We do, and I actually have not looked at this. Not that merch really makes any money, but according to Neil, it is by far, within the first week, the best-selling merch of Dota Cinema's existence. And
the Sun's Nugget shirt?
Yeah, I didn't even think about
funny.
owning one myself, so I'm telling Neil to send me one immediately. So in a future podcast, I'll have that for sure. For people that, of course, want to listen to this live, Twitch on sunsfan.tv, twitch.tv/sunsfantv, 2 a.m. PST and 11 a.m. CST every single Tuesday, syndereN, and later
Unless
on YouTube.
something gets in the way, which it hasn't so far.
That's right.
I almost got hit by serious enough sickness last week, but we pulled through.
You pulled through. I am very thankful for that.
My immune system did everything it could.
We can take bets for who. Actually, we can do that right now. How much money to the first person that misses an episode? Or maybe something else other than money.
I think that's unfair because there's a higher chance I miss it than you.
Exactly. That's why I want to do this.
Because I have things to do, you know?
That hurts. That goes pretty deep. All right, let's start with Dota 2, because I don't have a rant for this week, believe it or not.
No rant?
No, I couldn't. I don't want to do it every week because I feel like it's just going to make me more
I can rant about you not having a rant if you want.
Please, go ahead.
How the fuck do you not have a rant this week? You have a rant every single week. You had one 3 weeks in a row. We put in a lot of effort in this podcast. I do so much research, so much work, and you can't even show up with a fucking rant. Are you kidding me?
That's pretty good.
Okay.
All right. That's our rant for the week. Thank you, syndereN. I would appreciate a real rant in the future.
I don't get upset enough about things.
I feel like that can't be true.
Although that is also not true. There are some things that bother me, but I need to think about it, actually. Because, you know, the thing about things that bother you is that it's good to pack them away so that you can let them build up and reach critical mass instead of solving it.
Right. No, I agree.
I've learned that from Dota teams. It's very good to not solve your problems.
That's why people just reshuffle. That's the entire reason.
Great.
Disney, what was this tournament even called? The MDL Disney, what was the official name?
MDL
actually?
Disneyland Major.
MDL
Disneyland Paris Major. I think.
Paris Major, yes.
Disneyland Paris.
That just happened. It's been happening for the past week, in fact. And Secret beat Team Liquid 3-1. So Liquid second place and EG third as per norm, but Western teams are the top three. What was your impression of the tournament as a whole?
I think for this season's majors, this is probably the highest average level of play in the top 8 that we've seen. There were obviously some mistakes, some big losses here and there, but just the general level of play was nice to see, honestly. It was like my overall impression. Obviously, it turned out that the Western teams were doing really well this time around. I think 5 out of 6 teams were Western teams, top 6. Am I wrong here? NIP made top 6, right?
Sounds about right. I know there's only one. The Chinese got
Did
4.
OG make OG made top 6 too? Yeah, LGD was was it LGD or Vici that made top 6? Either way, I believe there were 5 out of 6 teams in Western teams in the top 6. So very impressive showing from the Western scene. And to just segue into the next point, I guess, that we have on our list that we want to get over, it actually had a pretty big impact on what happens for TI, because this locked in a couple of teams as guaranteed qualifiers for TI, which means they will not need to play the qualifications themselves, and that has a big impact on the scene in the individual regions. So obviously, if the Western teams do well, the Western qualifiers will not have the top Western teams in them. As it stands right now, Liquid are guaranteed qualification now because of their second place. They were not guaranteed before. Same for NIP. NIP got 900 points for their 5th, 6th place, and Liquid got 3,000 for their second place. They join Secret, who were already qualified from Europe. And this means that now, out of the top teams of Europe, there's only one team that is not guaranteed qualification, which is OG, and they're currently in 10th place and top 12 qualify. So they're very likely to qualify if they just make the next major and make top 8. Even if they don't, they might still qualify if the top teams keep owning, because then obviously they don't get overtaken by their competitors from below on the scoreboard. And like I said, this is really relevant for the regional qualifiers because it means Europe, which has been the most stacked region, in my opinion, this whole season in terms of teams, will actually have a very different qualifier. Qualifying for TI will be the easiest tournament to qualify for the whole year. It will be easier than qualifying for any major because you don't have to fight Secret, Liquid, NIP, and probably OG for it. And that means teams like Alliance will have a really good chance of making TI.
But what about South
teams
America?
Like Chaos.
syndereN.
Chaos migrated to Europe, so they're also going to have a shot at it. And we'll see. There's definitely going to be more teams trying to qualify for that TI. Myself included is definitely in the plans. So, what about South America?
Yeah.
Well, South America
Chaos is not there anymore, right? So
that is true.
It's wide open.
Realistically, I think it was hard for any South American team to reach top 12 in DPC. I would have not expected it, and it doesn't look like it's happening.
Well, so even for just the qualifiers of TI, though, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, what are the rules again? What are the rules for what teams are allowed to play in what qualifiers? If you just go there physically?
No, you need to have 3 players that actively play in the region and reside there, as far as I understood it. And there's, it's like a gray zone, as it often is. Like, it's kind of up to Valve's ultimate judgment if it works or not. So I guess,
who are the 2 Americans going to South America this year?
It doesn't have to be Americans. It could be Europeans too,
Europeans as well.
Just like what Mmr did with the Chaos team. They went to South America to play there. I don't know, honestly. There's been some of the American players that have been a bit to SA, I believe, are Francis Lee, Flea, and the name isn't coming to mind right now, but I do believe he was on a team with one other NA guy who's not currently in a team. But anyway, I think Stan King might have played in South America. But anyway, I don't know, man. It could be anyone, honestly. It really depends what talent pool is available, what people want. Obviously, the South American team wants to qualify with their own team, right? And they will get one team to TI. So since everybody really wants to go to TI, there's a good chance that they will import some serious talent that either got kicked from a team or wants to leave their own team because they're not satisfied with the conditions that they have. So you could see a pretty competitive qualifier in SA, to be honest.
Yeah,
that's just the system. So,
all right. So things are shaping up for the TI qualified teams. How many did you say that was that have officially qualified? Is it like
8 are guaranteed in out of 12 so far?
How many? 8. Oh, really? 8 out of 12 already. Damn. Okay, I didn't think it was that high.
The 4 teams that are currently set to qualify, if nothing changes, are Keen, OG, TNC, and eHome. eHome is only 13 points ahead of J-Storm, though. So it's like very little margin that eHome have.
I can't remember
but
what
outside
happened.
of J-Storm, the drop-off is pretty significant. Alliance need, for example, a really good result.
I can't remember what happened last
into.
year, but if you're a team that's already qualified, are you taking some tournaments off now? Like, I don't think you just go off the map, because that's what Secret did, the original Secret, and that's kind of what doomed them at TI, right? They just stopped playing official matches for like a month. But
I think
you have to lessen your schedule, right? That's a normal thing to do at this point.
Yeah, if you're one of these teams, you probably try to qualify for the major. If you make the major, you play that one, and then outside of that, you pick and choose like if you want anything or not.
Yeah.
I definitely think all of these teams will try to be present at the major. First of all, for their it's a lot of prize money. It's really good practice. There's a lot of pride on the line, but it's also really good for their sponsors, right? To get the exposure. That's where the real viewership is. So the sponsors will definitely want the teams to try to make the major, unless they absolutely need a break from fatigue. But like the top teams of the world, honestly, I don't think they have that much fatigue as they did last season when there were like a million lands, just because the top teams consistently make the majors, and that means they don't need to play the minor first. So the amount of time that Secret spends at LAN this year is actually not that ridiculously high, I think.
I guess that's true.
Like you said, this event that they just played, what was that, a week and a half in total, maybe, including travel days or something? Maybe upward toward 2 weeks. But apart from that, I think the last, maybe Secret, did they play another LAN since the last major? I don't even know if they did. And that major would have been 2 or 3 months ago. So I think there's,
Yeah, now that I think about it, it's definitely less in terms of, like, for the top teams, less playing. But I think everybody was kind of upset that the season started so fast after TI, because that was, was that less than 2 weeks? It was super fast after TI.
It was fast, at least.
People wanted to take vacation. It just, everybody was burnt down. But yeah, should be interesting to see who else qualifies. So, moving forward to the real important issues, syndereN, the Battle Pass has been released.
Yes.
We are at 11 million as of this recording, which is insane. Every year, I'm like, I don't know if they can top last year. Like, what can they possibly... Well, what they can possibly do is come out with the most ridiculous fucking cosmetics you've ever seen, which we will go over shortly.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about some of the features.
Make a comment on this?
Yes, please.
So, people are always, like... I don't know if I want to say worried or concerned or whatever that, we're not going to beat the prize pool of last year, but you have to remember that there's so much power within Valve to just create demand if they want to, right?
It's true.
If they're like, okay, this year it'll be harder to beat the Battle Pass record of last year, they just pump in more good stuff because it's very clear that people want to pay for the content if it's there. So the burden is on them to make engaging enough content and valuable enough content for it to be worth it for people. And like you said, so far they've been totally nailing it. This, in terms of like medium level battle passes, let's call them that, up until level 400, like not the super whale ones with multiple thousand levels or whatever, but just up until level 425, I think that's where you get the X set, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
There are a lot of rewards. Arguably, in terms of value, there's the same as 3 Arcanas in there. If you consider X Arcana, there's the Earthshaker Arcana, which is labeled as an Arcana. There's the Invoker Young one. I guess you want to go over these in a moment. I just mentioned them anyway.
Yeah, we'll go over each one briefly.
And then there's the Prestige item for Tiny, which we could maybe call half an Arcana. So let's say the 3.5 Arcanas. And what's an Arcana worth? Is it $35?
Yeah, I think so. $34.99.
So basically, if you consider that the value, then buying Battle Pass levels up until 425 costs the same as if you were to buy 3 Arcanas, just that, or maybe a little bit more, but you get all the other stuff in between too. Treasures, terrains, voice lines, all this stuff.
So there's
like
a couple
really good value this year.
So first and foremost, I might get a little negative. I understand I'm a negative person, syndereN. I understand that, and I'm trying to be more positive. But I want to be less negative. So I'm going to make sure I highlight the things I absolutely love before I shit on certain things that maybe I don't like as much, which actually there's not that much. But overall, this is by far the best Battle Pass. Like, not even close. I was going in, before I saw all the stuff it came with, I'm like, okay, I have to make a video for the chest opening, so I'm just going to get like level, I don't know, like 50 or something. I'll get like the 20. How much is the 50 levels? The entry level?
I can't remember.
It's like 20, 30, but whatever it is. I'm just going to get that. And then I saw some of these ridiculous items, and you're right. They can create whatever demand they want, which is good and bad. It's good because, it inflates the prize pool of TI, but it's bad in that, it inflates the prize pool of TI, which we've talked about is kind of an issue, trying to beat last year over and over again. The players, I feel like we can talk about this another time. The prize pool is just way too high for like top heavy. This ultimately kills the workshop, which a lot of people really made a lot of money doing. Like artists aren't even like, I know Valve people are telling artists in Dota for a long time, now just go make CS:GO stuff because it's not even worth it anymore.
Yeah. I do want to quickly mention with what you said with the prize pool. We're not going to make it a long talk again about distribution of money or whatever, but I just want to say that since we've talked about it last, there's been quite a lot more community movement toward talking about the infrastructure of the economy of the pro scene. So I don't know if we should take credit for sparking that, but we've been a part of it at least.
Of course, we're taking credit.
We take full credit. But no, it's really good to see that community figures start talking about the money. And I hope that when the community really cares about something and it becomes a big talking point, Valve has a tendency of actually delivering. Like when it comes to big things where the community thinks it's healthy for the game itself and for the scene. So I have this like cautious optimism that with all the talking that's going on right now, Valve will try to make steps to help fund the tier 2 and tier 3 scene last year. And who knows, maybe they will either learn from how they fund this TI with this battle pass and implement some sort of system next year with Dota Plus or with another type of pass to support the scene. Or maybe what people are suggesting, reinvest part of the prize pool. Because as it looks right now, it's entirely possible that we eclipse last year's prize pool by multiple million. And then you can choose, as Valve, to invest some of it into the next season instead of putting literally everything into the prize pool.
But for this year, it's too late to do that. That's the problem.
I suppose, because the wording does say that 25% go to the prize pool, right? So then you would actually be doing something else. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. It's just an update.
I mean,
on that.
you can
That is
take
cool
an
to see
extra
people are
5% on top of that and potentially spread that up throughout the season, right? For smaller tournaments.
You could.
But, you know, who knows if that's ever going to happen. But I think if people talk about it enough, it'll I mean, this is the scary part about these cosmetics, right? You know that Valve has made something like, we think these things are crazy. They've made something fucking beyond crazy that just in case they're a little scared that TI will not, or the prize pool will not hit last year, they will just release like in the middle of the tournament and it will like double this, like something insane.
So what if we just stop buying compendiums? Then we hold Valve hostage for the cool items.
It's not going to happen. I need my Axe cosmetics. It's too much. All right, let's go through each one briefly. So obviously there's a jungle, which was from last year, essentially. Comes with a Dazzle Ursa Sven set. I personally really like the concept of this just because, like, for me, like, I've been saying this for a while. I took about 6 months off of Dota completely, like literally did not play it. I've been playing a little bit more as time goes on now and starting to get into it. I still haven't read all the patch notes, if I'm being honest. So there's a lot of stuff that is new, right? And being able to try newer heroes perhaps and relearn them in a way is actually super helpful for people like me. And I'm sure for other noobs like me, it's also helpful. So the jungle, the idea of it is really nice. I think it's very well done. Do you agree? Okay.
Yeah.
Just stop me as we go through. The Immortals, as we talked about, comes with Lifestealer, DP, Nyx, Skywrath, Centaur, Lesh, and then the rares Earthshaker, Lifestealer, and Sky Gold, and then Drow Gold. Any of these stand out to you as like creme de la creme? Yeah.
I think out of all these, my favorite is the Shaker Fissure. I was lucky enough to actually get the rare in my first, my first few treasures. Do you get like, what was it, 6 chests if you buy the high level one or whatever?
You get guaranteed, all of them. Yeah, you get guaranteed 1 of each set of the non-rares.
I was fortunate enough to get the Shaker rare. I looked up the chances. I think I actually had like 3% chance or 4% of getting it in the number of treasures I opened, so I was really lucky. But that fissure is dope, and this item is really cool. Obviously, the Drow Bow looks amazing. That's also the ultra rare, I believe. I have not got that one.
Right, same.
Not sure exactly how rare that is.
Is there anything you don't like in that chest? Try to balance
I think the
this
one
out.
I like the least. There's nothing I dislike directly.
Okay.
But
There's one I dislike.
I think the weakest item in the chest is.
Come on, you can get
probably
this. You can do this.
It's the Lifestealer one for me. I think. I think you dislike the Centaur one just because you're a mad Centaur fan and you think it wasn't good enough.
Well, I will say the Lifestealer one I like a lot actually. I actually prefer the non-rare to the rare. The purple, I'm just a huge purple fan. But so again, the Immortals, generally speaking, like 95% of all the Immortals they've ever come out with, I think are like amazing. I think the Centaur one is really bad, and here's why. And I'm not trying to be negative, guys, because again, I have spent a lot of money upgrading my companion to like level 400, whatever it is. The Centaur one, the biggest problem I have, it's not even the way it looks or even the particle effects. It changes the animation to be super underwhelming now. Like Double Edge is one of these, like, if I apologize for the audio listeners, but it's like a shovel from the side. It's like, oh, and it just feels so good to use. You just have this satisfaction. It's like one of the most satisfying spells to use. Of course, Culling Blade is the creme de la creme, but Centaurs was always just feels. This one is like, ugh. It's like a sidearm. I really dislike the feeling of it. Is not powerful. That's my problem with it. The rest
thing
of
I
it's
love about that item, personally, I think just
you're supposed to shit on.
I don't know
it,
if I want to say lore wise or whatever. I just think it makes a lot of sense the way they animated, the way it works. Like if you don't like the animation itself or the power that it looks like you use, that's fair enough. Just the logic behind it, I think, is really cool. Like you're sacrificing some of your life force to deal damage, and you're actually drawing blood into the axe when you use the spell. I think that looks really cool and is a great idea.
You're incorrect.
But yeah, I could agree that it doesn't look as powerful. And they could have maybe done that while still maintaining this like whole blood idea, which just looks awesome to me. Actually, I think it's one of my favorite animations out of the items.
God, you are the worst. You know that?
Hmm?
You're literally just completely disagree. Just let me have this one, okay?
Is it possible to have a different opinion? Or
no, not for
allowed?
This one. This one,
wow,
you should
this
know
item
how
is
much
really
I love
bad.
Centaur.
Move on.
Okay, moving on. So the one, I don't know if you want to call it drama, but I think at this point, people aren't even complaining that much anymore. But the recycling from last year has changed. So last year, you recycle any immortal item that you get from a chest, which usually are going to be duplicates, and you get 2 levels. Now you get, if you get rid of 4 of those immortals, you get another treasure plus a Riley's Blessing. So you can't level up your battle pass that way anymore, but it gives you more chances to get a rare potentially. So what do you think about these changes?
I think it really depends what your goal or your ambition or whatever you want to say is with the battle pass, because the bottom line is reaching level 1000 and 2000 will be more expensive than last year because you will have to buy more levels. You can't level as easily, but at the same time, leveling to the really cool and good stuff is probably comparable in difficulty to last year, because the people that got a lot of levels from recycling were the ones who bought a lot of levels in the first place, or you wouldn't get all of those treasures, right? So it's like it's a problem for the people that are trying to go from, let's say, level 700 to 1000 or whatever while spending as little money as possible. But in my opinion, all the cool stuff is up until level 425, and after that it's like more treasures. It's voice lines. It depends
really
how much
true,
you love
though?
those voice lines. And
I feel like it's the same for any level. Like going from, let's say, 300 to 400 just by grinding, you can't really do, right? If you get lucky with the shovels, maybe.
Last year you wouldn't have tons of treasures to do it with. On level 300, how many treasures did you have back then? I don't know.
That's true. That's one way I would like to look back. I didn't do the research on this, syndereN, as you can probably tell. The comparison.
And it also depends how many of the items you want to keep. Because let's say you want one of each immortal before you start recycling. You don't recycle unless you have all uniques. Then, so for example, right now my battle pass is level 231, and I think I have 2 duplicates in Immortal Treasure 1 at level 231. So that means I could have got a whopping 4 levels with this, which is like nothing, right? So I would have to buy many more levels to get many more treasures when it starts getting relevant. So honestly, like the outrage, it's the classic thing with some people feel like something is taken away from them, and you always need to be careful with doing this kind of stuff because it looks like you're being greedy and you're robbing them of something. But for me, like if you try to keep a leveled head and just look at what the value is of the battle pass this year, I just think it's more valuable. If you want to complain, you can complain about the lack of cool stuff after Axe until the Aegis, where I think you can make a valid case that there's not enough stuff between 425 and 1000, but there's a good chance that they add something, right? Last year they put in the Treasure of Eminent Revival or whatever it was called. I think that was put on level 600 something.
If they're gonna beat last year, I don't think they're gonna put anything in. Why? Like if you're Valve, the best case scenario is that you go a little bit over the prize pool from last year, like 1 million over, right? That's a little in this case, as opposed to like, what's the point of doing 5 million over when you can save that cosmetic that you've already made for next year? You know?
Yeah, it really depends what you wanted to do with the money, because again, it's back to the discussion about prize money and how it should be distributed. Because let's imagine they would reinvest, let's say, beyond 25 million or beyond whatever million, the rest gets invested into the next competitive season. That would be awesome if they push for it a bit and, you know, make 30 million so that we could have a great next season of tournaments, right?
Yeah, no, I agree.
But like you said, this year probably not happening. So
I wouldn't put it past them. I mentioned it earlier, but adding 5% extra. They've done this in the. I don't know if this is. I don't think this is.
how do you mean add 5% extra?
So
what does that mean?
So okay, this is what they did with the workshop way back when. This I'm pretty sure is public knowledge. So 75-25 split for workshop items. Valve gets 75, workshop artists get 25, which is huge discrepancy, but it is what it is. And if there was a time where you could put a, what did they call it? Like a special contributor or something like that, where they will actually donate 5%, the extra, instead of 25, it's 30, right? And that 5% goes to somebody of your choice. They would actually do that if you wanted. So they could do that if for, you know, tournament prize pool.
So they would basically be paying
5%
extra to the prize.
Right.
Yeah, gotcha.
Which I think is entirely possible. If people make a big deal about it, I think it is definitely possible, but remains to be seen. So what I want to do is highlight kind of the other features of the Battle Pass. A lot of these are coming soon, so we can't really talk about it. We can kind of predict.
Yeah.
Level 75, this one was actually very surprising me. A Dark Willow announcer pack. Is this something that you would consider to be in demand at all?
Announcer packs in general or Dark Willow specifically?
Her specifically.
No.
I mean, we got Gaben last year. Like, nothing is going to beat that. That's the problem, right? That thing is amazing.
I think they try to have one new announcer pack with the hero every year. If I'm not mistaken, we've had that the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think so.
So
more than one, actually.
I guess it's possible that what they do, honestly, is that they look at what voice actors are available, and whoever is available to put in the work, and then maybe they just let them pick the favorite hero that they want to do. You know, it could even be something like that, because I don't think Dark Willow's voice is maybe its uniqueness makes it cool. Like, she's very, you know, she's like sassy. She has a different accent. Perhaps that's fun because it's like one of the more unique voices. So maybe that's why. But yeah, I could imagine it has something to do with like what voice actor is available, and then you take a unique hero out of their voice pool. Perhaps could be something like that. I don't know.
I don't think there's a Pudge announcer pack, right?
There is not.
That would be a big seller. I don't know if you want to put that in the Battle Pass though. That's the thing, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I forget what's the guy's name again. I can't remember. But they hire him for TI the last 2 years, so I don't think time would be the issue potentially. Or something? Yeah. That would be legit. I'm thinking of what heroes would be cool to have. And obviously, there's a lot of cool voice lines, but not anything against Dark Willow, but it's not really top of the list of heroes I would expect. But it feels more like a filler cosmetic to me personally, which is fine.
Yeah, I mean, they can't all be amazing.
No, that's true. The Overgrown Empire terrain, which is level 160. So again, I don't want to. I know I sound so negative. I really am trying to be more positive. There's no point in doing this terrain. I feel bad for whoever had to make it.
I have this.
You use it?
I forgot I even have it. I don't use terrains, so that's why I just glanced over it. I just have default terrain on.
You should start using terrain, by the way. They're great. So the issue with this, syndereN,
okay, let me just quickly say this.
Sure.
If you play competitively in this game, anything that distracts you or is different, if there's no like direct competitive advantage, it's actually just going to be distracting for you because you're the only one affected. So if I put on this terrain, it's probably going to make me play worse because the map looks different. There's like small paths. Yeah, I think so. In the start, at least.
Well, in the start. So, that's why you get used to it, and then you'll be that cool guy that's using cool terrains.
Sure, but...
Can I give you some advice here?
Is it worth it?
If you were to choose a terrain. The problem with this terrain they came out with, obviously the entire theme of this TI is jungle. The problem with this terrain is they already came out with a jungle terrain. Are you aware of this, syndereN? And it's the one I use, and it's amazing.
Is that the Monkey King one?
It is It is so good. It is so good. I think LC is probably the second best terrain, but that one.
Well, people have different preferences. I could totally see this being the best in the eyes of a lot of people. It's like
incorrect.
A bit Mayan. It's like Mayan style, right? The buildings are a bit
slightly
like,
different.
Mayan ruins.
Yeah.
I can see just on the preview, it seems like the theme uses the gold color quite a bit, which I would imagine the Monkey King also does to an extent.
The gold color? The gold color?
There's only one.
The gold color. All right, anyway, that one's not as exciting to talk about, but we can move on to the next one, which again is coming soon. New creeps at 182. What did you think of last year's creeps?
I don't even know if I used them. I don't think I did. Or
Hmm.
when did you unlock them?
It was probably around the same level last, maybe even higher than in the last
Okay,
battle
well,
pass.
because then I did unlock them because I went just beyond 1,000 last year. But
Oh,
I
you definitely had
remember.
them. Definitely.
Okay, I didn't. I don't think I used them.
You should open them. I wasn't a huge. I was excited about the idea of new creeps, but I forget which one. It was either the Radiant or the Dire. I think it was the Dire. I just really didn't like. Something about it actually made it, for me, it was probably just a visual thing, but it just made it more difficult to deny. That's why I couldn't deny the creeps. Okay, it's because of the custom creeps. But the
Nothing
new
like
ones,
some pay to lose.
yes,
The best.
the new ones. I'm trying to remember what is one of them like a crocodile. I want to say.
Yeah,
Of
it
course
looks a bit like it. I'm looking at them right now.
they look really cool in the picture, but of course we haven't seen them in game. But I'm looking forward to that because the
One is
idea
like
of
a
custom creeps is
crocodile
cool.
and a frog had a baby, and the other one is like Ravenhook from Artifact.
Oh, artifact lore into Dota. I like it. Excellent.
Kind of.
People are going to use that like crazy. That was a great card in Artifact, by the way. Boy, oh boy.
Yeah, nobody used that either. Oh, actually, it got used a little, I think.
Barely. All right, so the one you mentioned, oh no, you didn't mention this one, the level 255, coming soon, Tiny prestige item, and I believe Tiny's getting a remodel as well. They haven't had any cosmetics for him in 4+ years. Did you know that?
I didn't know the timeline, but I
It's
know
been a
Tiny
long
doesn't really
time.
have anything.
And I don't know if this helps or hurts the chances of the Dota Cinema set getting in, but
You
oh
do,
boy.
You do realize where this prestige item is from, right?
Where is it from? What do you mean?
Did you play the what was it called? The map, was that at Christmas that it came out? That map where with Rubik, and was that Frostivus this year? The one
If
where
it
you had
was,
like
I
the
was not.
towers and the lanes. You needed to defend your towers, and then you fought through 15 waves, and then the last wave was that Rubik. There was this massive Rubik you needed to defeat. I'm sure someone in chat can help me out. I think, was it just called Frostivus this year? Anyway, one of the levels had these
Mhm.
like huge tinies, custom model tinies throwing rocks.
Really?
And it looks like it is that model that they are going to be reusing. Frosthaven, it was called. Yes,
Okay.
correct. The Frosthaven
cool.
event. So I don't remember which exact level it was, but I'm sure a lot of people that have played it remember those tinies. They were a menace to a lot of people and ended a lot of runs.
Did they look cool?
But yeah, they were cool. They were also really big, so obviously they're going to get downscaled. But if
Oh,
they do use
boy.
that same model, it looks great.
Okay, cool.
It was a good model.
Looking forward to that.
I'm excited for that one. I love
Tony
Tiny.
Cosmetics.
It's one of my favorite heroes. So.
All right, this one I want to talk
That's
about.
the
for a
thing
little
about this
bit.
battle pass that's so good, you know?
Yeah.
They put in stuff that's cool for heroes I like for once.
Wow.
Amazing.
That's great to hear. This one you don't play, though. Level 305 Invoker Persona
Oh, I do like Invoker.
is a little toddler Invoker.
Yeah.
So this, go ahead, give your thoughts, because I might take a while on this one.
What's a good way of saying it? I'm open-minded about it. Like, let's see how it goes. I think it's one of those things that could be great and fun, and it could also just fall flat. And I think Valve might think about it in the same way. Like, this is an experiment for me. You take a
Really?
character and you actually reward. Yeah, it's like, you know, people have been talking about, oh, can we get heroes in different genders or whatever? And I think this is
Yes.
like a soft one where
Yes.
they take a hero. It's the same. It's just it's younger, but it's the same like type of character.
Much younger.
And then
yes.
yeah, and then we'll see how it goes. Like honestly,
syndereN, can you please, dude?
should I have a strong opinion? I haven't even seen it, man. Like what
It's
am I
not
supposed
about
to say?
The fact that you think that people will dislike it is astounding to me. The fact that there's fucking balloons that you can push. You can put a monkey on the ground that throws fucking feces now. There's no way this is going to be too much, all right? There's balloons flying across the map. You're digging for gold. You can stun yourself with a stasis trap using a cosmetic, okay? Nobody's going to care about Invoke. They're not going to think of it negatively. There's no way. I will be shocked.
Okay, I think what will be a negative is just the hero is not super easy to distinguish. Like, you know, the glance value thing where people make fun of, oh, these sets make it look like Dragon Knight. But then when you're in the game, it's very obvious.
You
what
have
hero it
3
is at all
orbs
times.
above your head. What other
know.
heroes? Is that Ancient Apparition? Is that the cosmetic for Ancient Apparition, the baby? Sorry, continue.
Yeah, no,
I
that's
feel
it.
very strongly
That's it.
about cosmetics. Is the only thing.
Okay, so what's your opinion on this set? Do you like the
Okay.
idea or do you think it's bad?
No, it's amazing. So the the idea of a persona, I completely agree that I've been asking for a gender bender for a long time. I actually thought it would be Invoker. Um,
Mhm.
This is like the halfway point, right? It doesn't change the lore because it's just a younger version of the same hero. And I think this is a test bed to make sure that they can
Yeah.
do gender benders. Like, just think of female Juggernaut, for example. That would be awesome. Or please bring back Legion Commander from Dota 1. The guy with the huge mustache and the fat horse that he rode. That was the best model in Dota 1.
Yeah, actually, let's list. If you could pick 3 heroes to be able to play as both genders, which 3 heroes would you choose? Like,
LC.
what would be the coolest to play in a different gender? Okay. What
This
about
could be
IO?
Yeah, great.
Thank you.
And Puck. Yes. The other
Now,
it.
who would you pick apart from LC?
It would be a model that I don't particularly like. I'd have to think about this. This feels like a future
Monkey
segment.
Queen?
Now, people were saying King of Pain because there was an SFM. Nikki was talking about this earlier. SFM already done with the model. There's already a King of Pain that exists. But that wouldn't be the top of my list for sure. Wraith Queen would be pretty cool. Wraith Queen.
What about a female Spirit Breaker?
As long as they kept the heftness.
But like all the tits hanging out when it's charging.
Oh, no. Okay. It has to be female Pudge. If you brought up that, female Pudge takes the cake. No pun intended.
That would sell. That's a fucking
dude,
seller.
That's super legit. So anyway, back to the Invoker persona. I think it's really cool. The thing that I don't want to harp on this too much. It makes me very sad, though, because I know that... Do you remember there was an SFM that created the toddler Invoker?
Yes, I do.
So Chemical Aaliyah, who used to do stuff for Dota Cinema, she made that. And I asked her if Valve had contacted her at all concerning this, because it's 100% based off of it. And they did not. I feel really bad. I think that's terrible, honestly. That's literally the same thing, essentially, right? I mean, we haven't seen it in game, I suppose, but there's no way you can say that that's not based on that.
There was even one more thing from that skit that also was in this battle pass. I can't remember which one it was. I think so, or maybe it was something in a previous one. I believe there are 2 things that were inspired by that. What was the other one? But yeah, Invoker and is Axis naked in his nightmare, right?
Yeah, that's true.
No, seriously, Axis naked in his nightmare, and they made the Axe Unleashed. I think that's also from there. I'm pretty sure it's the same one.
I mean, that one's I think less blatant, though, right?
I guess so. Yeah.
But anyway, that as awesome as the Invoker persona is, the whole idea of it is great. I'm sure it's going to be really cool. That's the one thing that I feel very sad about because I feel like she should get something, but that's just me. Moving on to my personal favorite of the entire Battle Pass. I came into the whole Battle Pass thing. I'm like, I'm not going to go that high this year. Last year I was like 400 something. I'm like, I'll probably do like level 50 and just play like to probably level 100 or whatever it is. And then I saw level 335 custom towers, and holy shit, syndereN. I had it. It's not like it's a novel idea. We tried to commission somebody in our mod Chip to create custom towers that were based off of Dota 1 towers. I wanted the Radiant to be throwing a rock like it did, and I didn't like the Scourge in Dota 1. So I wanted to also to throw something similar, but just like a red rock, like a lava rock. And that's essentially what this is. And they are so freaking cool. Holy crap, these towers are amazing. My God.
Do you like how much they resemble heroes? Or do you think they could have done a better job making them like their own entity? Because when I look at this Radiant Tower, I immediately see Clockwork, and when I look at the Dire Tower, I immediately see Shadow Fiend. Like,
well,
they
thanks
just
for that.
really look like those.
I did not think of it, but next time I look at it, I'm sure that's all I'll be able to see. So I appreciate that. But no.
I mean,
I'm
it's
glad
not
you said something
like
negative.
they literally just took the hero and placed it there. I think you could have, you could have made them more. What's a good word to say? Just made them their own hero. Like, let's just call it that. Like, just have them not resemble anything at all from either side and just be cool towers, while still being evil and good as they should look, right? But I think they nailed the color scheme though. I really like the colors of both towers, which are, they're very much in line with the rest of the design of the sides. Which I think when you do something like this, where you make it custom, I'm a bigger fan of something like this than what was it? We had the tower level thing where you counted up all the tower levels before the game started, and then based on how high level companion people had, you got different towers. With Was that called the Tower Challenge or something? You remember that, right? Was that 2 battle passes ago or last year?
Wait, say it again. Tower
The
challenge.
Tower Showdown. When every game started,
Oh,
everyone's
yeah.
battle pass level.
That was last year. Yeah.
Those towers were, how to say, they felt more out of place in the game. Like these ones really look like a part of the
No, I
universe,
agree.
which I think
Yeah.
is really nice. So
That was the penis measuring contest of last year. Right?
basically, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry,
Yes.
was it last? Yeah.
And
I
now
don't
it's
know.
now it's about who has the longer Seb.
Maybe it was
we've
2
still
years
got
ago.
it, so don't worry.
Yeah, true. Okay, so moving on from that, of course, Earthshaker Arcana at 365 coming soon. I don't think there's any way it's not going to change Echo Slam. That's the only choice, I believe.
Love this hero.
What if you hate
they
this
took
cosmetic,
both-
syndereN?
They took both Tiny and Shaker this year. I'm so happy with that. I mean, this hero is amazing. One of the things I've always praised this game for the absolute most is the sound design, and I think Shaker has one of the absolute best. His voice is amazing. His spell sounds are amazing. Like the whole, like this character is just one of the most well done. And I think Shaker was one of the original heroes that came when Dota 2 came out, or did they introduce him a bit later? I don't remember if he was in the original set for TI1.
I want to say he was, but I'm not 100% sure. I just remember his model looking really bad back then.
Oh, true, he wasn't. Yeah, now I remember it. This hero is super well made, and I think when you take heroes that have so like distinct voices and like unique spell sounds and animations, which they've always done a really great job on, I think you can do something super cool with this Arcana. So I'm very excited about that, and I hope they make it, which they undoubtedly will, make it look very nice with the rare from this year's Immortal 1, right?
Do you think it's Echo Slam, or could even be Aftershock? I guess.
I don't think it'll be Fissure, just because the rare has
sure.
the Fissure, right?
Yeah,
so
100%.
The Bracers have have Enchant Totem.
Mm-hmm.
So
Plus, for an
Echo Slam
Arcana,
is the
you'd think
best
they
bet.
would go for a big spell for Arcana.
Yeah, not only that, it's not just the custom animation, but they're probably going to do something like unique, right? That other cosmetics don't have. For example, the Pudge has the hook counter. So with Shaker, it might be like, maybe it echoes more the more units it hits or something. Like the sound gets
It's literally
sort of higher
Gaben
echo.
screaming. It's an echo, like, just screaming from something like that. I would enjoy
It says
a little...
echo in the voice actor's voice. He says echo once for each unit it echoes on.
Echo. Okay,
Yes,
that's better.
exactly.
I like that. All right.
Very good.
So, and of course, the one that people are talking about the most, I also upgraded just to get this. Level 425, you get the Axe Immortal. He's essentially naked. He turns into... okay, I'm going to say the positives and I'm going to say the negatives, okay? Positives is fucking amazing. It's really good.
Oh,
It's very
good
satisfying.
positive.
I feel like they did miss an opportunity. Of course, we talked about this before. Maybe they're a little bit hesitant to go all out on one of these. I feel like they could have made him a gorilla. That would be so cool if Axe was a gorilla. Think about it. Don't give me that face. Just say it's cool. Come on. A gorilla.
It's cool.
You actually don't think that's cool? How? How is that possible?
Why
How?
the fuck would X be a gorilla?
Just change his anything. If we talk about gender bender, change his complete race. Just change everything about him. His species to a gorilla. Please.
But why?
Because it's cool, okay?
Do you just like monkeys? That's why.
I named my cat Monkey, so yes.
What is the argument for this? Man, they really missed an opportunity.
Well, the
to
reason
turn
I say
Axe
that
into a gorilla.
is because if you look at his auto attacks and his like everything, it looks like he's a gorilla out there. It's awesome. But you could have just made him a gorilla at the same time.
Okay. I don't see it.
You know what? We come from different timelines. You're just not into cosmetics. I understand. I can understand it. You're not into gender benders. You're not into that kind of stuff.
And I don't mind that things get like a bit crazier and stuff. I'm not one of these like
you're
purists
questioning
or whatever you
Baby
wanna call it, that,
Invoker.
oh, you cannot change anything. It's just I just don't understand why he would be a gorilla.
Because that's his lore. They changed it to be a gorilla.
Yeah.
Just
okay,
change
well,
everything
if
that
they change
says
the lore too. I'm down. Like just remake the character.
No,
Just
he
be
has
like,
an alternate.
Guys,
That's the thing. He has an
just make a
alternate
public
lore.
statement. Listen, you just make a public statement. You're like, guys, we've been reviewing all our lore. We went through it. We like our heroes, but we really think we dropped the ball on X. So we want to apologize to the
No.
community, and he will now be a gorilla.
All right, you know how they have like alternate timelines and stuff like that? Why not Axe? Like it's the easiest.
So my
Lore is the
chat
easiest
said just
thing.
rename Axe to Ape.
Ape Smash.
Ape.
That's his ult. Like how good is that? Like all you have to do is add in his lore. Oh, Axe took some potion and he turned into a gorilla. That's it. That's your lore. You don't need any backstory.
You just really want a gorilla,
dude. I think most people would agree.
This is so fucking absurd. Actually, I don't even know what to say.
I just want crazy cosmetics in the game. By the way,
I mean, it's fine.
By the way,
Okay.
I'd like to look back just a little bit and just laugh about how the reception of some cosmetics back in the day were. Like the Alpine Ursa, like the absolute outrage from the elitist community that was Dota 2 at the time. And how far we've come. Like I said, you're literally throwing feces with a monkey on the ground. You're giving high fives to your teammates and enemies. It clutters the map. It's not even like a question. It actually clutters things. But that's the way it's gone, you know?
That's
and nobody's
interesting,
complaining.
'cause in the games I play, nobody uses these.
Really?
Like the only out of the 4 things, right? So it's kind of funny because when there was this New Bloom event with the piggies, right? Everybody in high-ranked MMRs was just throwing pigs around everywhere. It was like a balloon party on the first bounty run, so it'd be like 20 balloons. I think I've barely seen a snake used in my since the battle pass came out. I
The
think I've barely seen
high-fiving
a
is
snake used.
more...
There's almost no monkeys. High-fiving gets used quite a lot.
Yeah.
What's the third one even? The drum.
shovel?
I've seen like a few drums. The shovel is the only one that gets consistently used. I use
Because
it
you
too.
get
I haven't. I
cosmetics,
don't think. I think I've used the shovel, like I don't know how many times, and I haven't used the other ones a single time yet. So,
Really?
I don't know
Well,
if it's like a. It's a
you
bit
should
random.
try it.
We don't have fun in our bracket, so we don't use the monkey.
Apparently. You guys are just all masochists or something.
We just don't think it fits the lore. Like, so we don't use monkeys.
He took a potion and turned into a monkey. All right, that's all you need. All right, to finish off the battle pass talk, well, part of it, I guess.
Yeah.
Of course, level 1,000 get the Ages of Champions. Baby Roshan's at level 2,000, and the one different one is at 1575. You get ranged auto attack projectile change for all your ranged heroes. The only thing about this is it's seasonal, so it's going to go away after TI. Which, I mean, if you're into that kind of thing, I guess.
Notice, just quickly, notice the ramp up in levels, right? I'll just mention the levels that something big comes on. 75, 160, 182, 255, 305, 335, 365, 425, and then the next one is 1,000. That's more than double the value that you've paid until then to get the Ages. And it's just, that's what I mean, right? It just looks like there's this big gap where there's nothing. So you would imagine either if they need to increase the prize pool or if they have something planned just in general, whether it's, you know, with the purpose of, okay, we need it to break the prize pool record or not, there is at least one thing between these two. I refuse to believe that they don't already have something ready. At least one thing, maybe two things, because that jump is too big.
Yeah,
but I
they
just
don't
want to
need
say
it.
how happy I am with the immediate, like, really high value until 425. I think per level, until you reach 425, you get way more bang for your buck than you did the last
I mean,
years. So,
exactly. Compared to last year, I think this is all calculated. Valve is very smart. They know that if they put even more stuff in that bracket, or in that range, because the whales are going to spend no matter what. Like, I don't even know if they're going to add anything. I kind of disagree with you. If anything, they're going to add stuff in the middle still. Because the value now...
No, that's what I was saying. Oh, you mean still between 300 and 400. That's where you think they'll add even more.
Well, I think between 100 and 400, whatever it is. Like, I don't think they're going to add much, if anything, past that. Because we've seen the effect. It's crushed the other years already. Like, more so than like years previous, the way that they've been crushing, right? Very impressive. So, anyway, moving on to other things that you get in the Battle Pass. Party Finder, have you used this yet? I don't like this very much.
I've added a couple of people to it, but I haven't used it. I think it's a great feature, and I think it should just be part of the game.
Tell me why.
After
Tell me
TI.
what's the point?
It's just effective. I think that's the nice thing about it. Usually when you need to invite people to your party, you go through your friend list, you find one by one and invite them. You could just have like, this is my pool of people that I like to play with, and you press literally a button and you can invite everyone at once. It's just super quality of life improvement. That is really
agree
nice.
if it actually worked that way. Number one, they have to be in Dota for it to work. You can't just invite people, which I think is a big deal.
That's fine.
You can't edit the list right now. If you add somebody,
that is a problem, and absolutely has to be changed. Like, there's no way you can't remove people from your list.
And I think the purpose of this, first of all, I agree with you. If it was used like that and I could edit it and it could invite people that were online, just not in Dota, I would 100% use it every time. that would be great. But the problem is, first of all, there's challenges to add 100 people to this thing. That's absurd. There's a challenge to add 100 people to your party friends or your party finder.
Oh, really?
The purpose of this, according to what I like, the actual blurb that describes it, is it's supposed to basically you're adding friends without having to add them to your friends list. That's the purpose. So they want you to add hundreds of people, which I find really strange.
Well, Steam does have a friend limit.
Yeah, for some reason, I don't know why. Why is that?
And the number of friends that you can have on your Steam account is directly related to your level of your Steam account. So the higher level of Steam you have, the more friends you can have. And the way you get Steam levels is by getting badges, basically, and completing collections of the cards that you get. You know, when you spend X money on a game, you start getting drops from that game on your Steam account. If you complete a set, you get experience. That's how you level up your account. I guess it's just like Dota is a game where the amount of people you run into in your games that you might enjoy playing with, like regardless of your Steam level, there's a good chance you get to play with someone. You're like, hey, this guy was nice to play with. I want to play with him again. That could easily overtake your friend list space.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's also a difference between wanting to play with someone again and considering them your friend, you know? Like, I could be playing with someone in a game and I was like, yeah, this guy was cool to play with. I'll play with him again. But that doesn't mean you want, you know, I don't want to call it the intimacy. That's like too much. But I feel like there's a step between that and friend list,
right?
For me.
I mean,
so I think it's
this
fine.
wouldn't be a problem if they had something in the game where you could filter out your friends easily. Like if I could just type like the first 3 letters of their name and it just filters out everybody, but so I can easily invite my friends, then I wouldn't.
I'm down.
I need
think,
something
the concept
easier.
is good. The concept is good, but it needs improvement. But I think the idea is great. That's
all right. Then they added the avoid player feature, which is it sounds unbelievable. It sounds too good to be true. Of course, we don't know if it's actually working, right? And we don't know if it's going to stay. Have you noticed it working?
I've not noticed it not working. Let's say
Right.
that, because like if you add, let's say, I think my list has like 3 or 4 players in it right now, and I have not been matched with them since. But then I had this thought that this could become a problem in very high MMR. So basically, what has happened in our bracket, which is not a concern of like the vast majority of teams, right?
Right.
But what has happened is that we have started over the past, let's say, year, the algorithm has changed to give faster games, but then spread the MMR wider. So we will have people in our games that are literally 2,000 MMR apart in our solo MMR games. Now, the problem is if the high-rated players don't like each other and they start adding each other to the avoid list, then if just one player out of 4 in the team wants to avoid a 5th guy, he can't get matched in that team because the other 4, even if 3 like him, 1 guy doesn't. So you can imagine you like draw this web where player A doesn't like B, B doesn't like C, and C doesn't like D, and now none of those players, you know what I'm
7
getting at.
degrees of hatred, basically.
Basically, you have like this web where games get difficult to match. And when this came out, it was like, great, you know, we have some idiots. It's nice not to have to play with them. But the problem is, if people don't use this function well, it's actually going to affect game quality because we will struggle to find players.
I actually disagree with you.
Want to play with each other.
I think it's I could be wrong. I think it's coded completely differently than what you're thinking. I think it's just priority. So? Yeah, I think.
How do you mean?
That let's say there's 10 people queuing at that high level, only 10.
Yeah.
And a bunch of them have avoid player. I think they still play. If there's 15, then yeah, those players that are on the avoid list will not be included in that queue potentially. I think it just prioritizes.
I thought they literally cannot be placed with you at all.
All right, if that's the case, then I agree that could be potentially a problem for the higher MMR. But I would be surprised.
For the vast majority of players, this is like
this is great.
It's fun, right?
For me,
because basically this feature, the ones who are likely to have the most effect from it are the highest ranked players, because we're the ones who play with each other the most. The people who are least likely to have it are the people in the range where there's most players, because there's a highest chance they get different players in their games every time, right? So they're like, oh, I had this idiot in my last game, I'm going to add him to my avoid list. And then you realize, if you think about it, well, there's a pretty high chance you would have never played with him again in your entire life anyway.
Right.
So, you know,
but
there are stories where people queue straight after and they're like, fuck, I got this idiot in my game again. And of course, the chance that you get the same player in your game is a lot higher if you insta-queue after a loss, because then the other guy also wants to queue again, and maybe you get matched again. So for those cases, it's nice. For the grand scheme of things, I don't think it makes that big of a difference, but I guess it's nice, you know. it's just a reassuring thing to make you feel more motivated to queue into your next game, I
Yeah,
suppose.
I think it's great. I hope they keep it. Based on the wording, it didn't sound like they knew if it was like, it sounded like a temporary thing that they're kind of testing. So we'll just have to wait and see.
And the biggest thing is if they can notice a change in behavior based on this.
Yeah,
Players.
that's true.
We'll see.
I mean, it would be nice to see if you're on somebody's avoid list. Like you're on 10 people's avoid lists. It gives you an idea of how much you're hated, kind of thing. You know. A couple features I want to quickly talk about. Assistant features. I know there's more than just two, but the two that really I thought were awesome. Camp stacking assistant. So if you hold Alt, it shows you what time to stack each camp, which I think is amazing. And the damage summary at the top left that shows how much magic, pure, and physical damage you've taken during the game, so you can itemize towards that or against that is amazing. This should be part of the core game, like 100%.
I haven't used either a single time.
You're a pro player, so that's not
of course like
surprising.
My perspective. I'm just giving my perspective, right, on this.
Your perspective sucks
because some people are like, oh, this is an advantage or whatever. Like I'm playing at a high level and I honestly don't care. So from my perspective, this doesn't give like really any advantage because we know these things already. But it's nice. It's like it's helpful to new players. It's going to help them understand how to stack, when to stack. It's going to help them maybe itemize a bit better because they're like, oh, wow, the enemy team's actually really physical this game. Maybe I should buy armor instead of the pipe that I buy every game on this hero.
Yeah.
You know, it's just nice to, it's a helping hand. It gives a bit of guidance. Now, I think the big thing that people are talking about is it's one thing it's in the game, but should it be behind a paywall? And that's always the discussion, right? Like you're paying for this.
Yeah. But I think I'm pretty confident in saying that it will be available after TI for everybody. I'd be shocked if it's not. I think it's amazing for the game.
Okay.
And Valve have to know that, but we'll see. Other than that, last thing, I guess, coaching.
Yep.
Have you tried it, by the way?
I tried queuing, but it was bugged, so I didn't get one.
Okay.
I think, so the thing about this, I don't know exactly how it's implemented, but from what I understand, you queue and you just get placed into a game, and then everybody sees that it's a 12 out of 12 game and there's a coach on each side, and then the players can choose to mute the coach. And you only get placed into games where people are at least 500 MMR below you when you are the coach. I think this number should be bigger.
Okay.
I think it should be at least 1,000, to be honest. Like,
what if you're 1,000 MMR? You can't coach
you
anybody.
Can't do it. Well, yeah, then you just can't coach anybody. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, it's like not everybody can be an expert or teach everyone everything. Like, I'm not gonna go out there and be like, I'm not gonna teach anyone dancing, okay? Because I don't know how to fucking dance. So if you're 1K MMR in Dota, you're not good at the game. I'm sorry, you're just not good at the game, and that's fine. Then you don't have to teach people how to play it. I think a 1,000. Okay, so what I was getting at is a 500 MMR distance. How big is the difference between, let's say, a 2,500 player and a 2K player? Like, what can a 2,500 player teach a 2K player that will be eye-opening and will make them really enjoy their coaching and feel like, wow, I learned something in this game and had a great time, compared to, let's say, a 4K player was coaching a 2K player. They'll be like, wow, I didn't think about that before. Okay, this is why I'm buying these items or doing this. You know, it's just a different level.
Yeah,
and
I don't think.
I don't think there's any reason. I think the reason they made the number this low was so people can reliably find coaching, because I think it's something you don't want to queue for very long, right? But again, from my perspective, let's say I queue coaching, right? What's my MMR right now? Like, I'm almost 8,000, right? So if I queue coaching, am I going to sit there and coach 7,500 players on how to play the game? Are they going to care?
It's not for you,
they
though.
Just want to play their.
It's not
they just
for
want to
you.
play the game. No, but imagine if a 4K player could be coached by me. They would probably think this is amazing. You know, this is something they would usually pay.
That's very
for.
cocky.
So,
but it's true, because people are even happy to get coached by me of all people.
No, it's just how it is, and that doesn't mean, obviously, your MMR just is not how good you are as a coach, right? It's about how you communicate with people, how you teach. People are very different in skill at teaching or whatever. It's pretty clear that the bigger the gap is, the more you can learn from someone, right?
No,
so you
would
increase the chance that they will teach you something that you find valuable. And at the end of the day, the goal of the system is to give people a good experience, right? So I just
it might be more than 500 right now, though. I think that's the minimum.
Is that what it says?
Well, no, I don't know exactly what it says, but
I'm checking.
From my experience,
test your coaching skills by queuing as a coach for players on average 500 MMR lower than you.
So it could be less. Wow. Okay. Never mind.
Yeah, they could even be less.
So when I did a few coaching sessions, and they were a lot of fun. So when I originally played ranked way back, like got my MMR, this was the first and only time I ever did it. It was 4.7K. Okay. Since then, I have not played ranked at all. It's been years. And I've been told, and I can't remember if this is true, that there's, what is it called when your MMR just gets lower over time if you don't play? What's that called again? Yeah. So MMR decay. I must be really fucking low at this point because I was getting...
I don't think Dota decays.
I'm just bad then. I don't know what it is.
I'm pretty sure I've heard or read about this, that Dota 2's MMR system is very unique in the fact that it doesn't have decay, because that's what pretty much every other game has. If you played Warcraft 3, if you play CSGO, their ranking decays over time, but in Dota it doesn't. The problem is, the reason you feel bad is that everybody is getting better all the time.
Well, the
4K players nowadays are much better than the 4K players 2 years ago. So if you don't play for 2 years, first of all, you got worse because you didn't play, but everyone else also got better. And that makes you look worse because there's more access to information. People, learn over time just to get better. The 5K players of today are better than some of the pros at TI1, probably, in both mechanics and game understanding. It's just the game has come a long way.
Well, sure. They played the game for like 2 weeks back then, though, right?
Yeah, well, they played Dota 1 for years.
Yeah,
so
true.
There's obviously
anyway, I think the coaching,
but...
it's an interesting, I've heard a lot of bad things about it. I personally have not, like, people that are just ragey and obviously don't want to be coached. I can understand that aspect if you just don't want to be coached. From my perspective, it's obviously quite different, and it's not the majority of what people might experience. But if somebody recognizes who I am, they're very willing to listen, even if I'm not a great player, right? They enjoy the banter. They know that I'm making a VOD, so they're very disciplined. They're very nice and all that. I found it kind of fun, like you get a rating, you get thumbs up at the end of the game. You feel good about that.
And then there's the opposite case that you see post stuff on Reddit where somebody becomes a coach and somebody starts the game out saying, "Shut up, coach," and you might learn something.
Yeah, that was a great quote, by the way. That was, as much as I disagree with that sentiment, it's a great quote. Yeah. So
yeah.
I hope that they expand upon coaching just a bit. I don't know what else they could
absolutely.
add. Absolutely.
I think, again,
cool.
Similar to the Invoker thing, I think this is just flat out an experiment. Like, throw it in there, see how it goes. Is it fun? Will people like it? If yes, we can implement it. If not, it didn't really hurt anybody.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing about this system is that you can mute the coach. I actually think that's the most important thing, because it needs to be voluntary. And I think it needs to be very obvious that there's a coach in the game, and it needs to be very obvious how you switch them off, because it's your game. It's not theirs. So you should easily be able to choose if you want it or not.
Yep.
I would, in addition, I would honestly have liked them to add a toggle that you could switch on. I would like to have a coach in my game or not. So coaches don't get matched with players that don't want them. Like, put it in the game. By default, it's on when you queue. I am willing to have a coach in my game, and then people can switch it off. But maybe Valve's concern is that everybody will switch it off. But then it wasn't a good idea to begin with if people don't want it. So,
true.
Let that.
So you're saying default, have it by default on.
Default on, and then you opt out. I think that would be a great way of doing it.
Yeah, no, I think
I would opt out, for example. Or actually, maybe I wouldn't, just because of the people I could have as my coach in the game.
Yeah, I'm sure they're really interested in coaching. Yeah,
it would be funny if it were to happen. It would be fun. But it's.
I think either way. I think the way it is now is great as an introductory test bed. I don't think you can do that, like have that option available right away, because people aren't going to like the idea probably to start with. But maybe they'll have a good experience and they'll be more open to it later. I don't know. But anyway, let's wrap up this battle pass. The last thing, which we won't get into now, Wrath of the Morokai. It's going to be some custom game that they'll be releasing at some point, which we'll probably talk about whenever it's released. So, do you want to take one of these community questions before we do the we rate things?
Oh shit! I have my paper here. I didn't move it since last week. So
good. So
it's right here on my desk. A couple of drums on it.
From Caffeinated Savage, he asks, what is the most embarrassing casting moment for you, for each of us? Do you remember that one time?
I'm trying to think. I mean, you can do yours first. I bet you have one.
So that's the thing. Like, I feel like I have no shame, so I don't really get embarrassed. Like, the time I get embarrassed is when I just make a mistake in a cast. Like, I actually get kind of embarrassed. Like, I say something stupid, but that happens a lot. So there's not one time that really stands out. But I can give a short story on something that would embarrass a normal person. Does that count?
Okay.
So I was in Kiev for the Artifact tournament with Slacks not too long ago. This was in January, I want to say. Mm-hmm. And I am somewhat lactose intolerant. It's not always, but it's just certain things. Like, I can, like, whole milk destroys
on
me.
Mondays,
okay?
I am lactose intolerant.
whole milk destroys me. Cream cheese destroys me. But generally, every other dairy is fine. Like cheese is fine. You know,
That sounds so random.
it is random. It's just the way it is. I haven't questioned it. My doctors don't know what's wrong with me. Anywho, for some reason, everything in Ukraine has cream cheese in it. syndereN. Like they hide cream cheese in every, like even, and it was
Not my
delicious, by the way.
experience, I think.
Like, you know what stuffed crust is in pizza?
Yeah.
So yeah, the cheese, it's inside the crust. Usually in America, it's mozzarella. In Ukraine, it is cream cheese. It's delicious.
Oh, that sounds great, actually.
But it
That sounds
destroys me. So I had some pizza before a cast, and before I was the panel was going already, and I'm waiting there with Slacks about the cast. I'm like, oh my god. And I've had this problem before because I do have IBS, where
Okay, but let me just cut you off in your story.
yes,
He is like the best person you can sit next to if you're gonna stink, because he has no shame as well.
Well,
It's
you
like,
think I'm
at
just-
least I'm with Slacks, right?
it's not about
At least
stinking. It's not about gas. It's about like shitting myself at this point. It's really bad.
Yeah, if that, I'm sure Slacks wouldn't judge you.
Like I'm that. Well, that's of course true. So I'm sweating profusely, and I've had this happen like before a lot of like back in Captain's Draft, our first Captain's. I was so nervous before our cast because I hadn't really done it on the stage like that before, although it was online. But still, I would have to take a shit before every single day.
Like pressure poop.
It was a lot of pressure. This one, of course, is more food poisoning or whatever you want to call it, being lactose intolerant. And I am just sweating profusely. I'm like, oh, this is going to be the time. I've been waiting for it all my life. It's finally going to happen. I'm going to shit myself during a cast. It's finally going to happen. And I'm like, Slacks.
You sound
I'm
so excited.
I'm so sorry. I have to take a shit. I got to get out of here. So I bolt for the bathroom. And we're about to go live in casting because the panel is like about to throw to us. So they throw... I'm watching from the bathroom in my phone. I'm watching Slacks get thrown to. He's just all alone, and the host finally walks over awkwardly because they try like delaying as long as possible. Of course, I'm stuck in there for 20 fucking minutes, so it's not going to happen. You can't delay that long. So the host comes over and just casts the first game, and then I slip in for game 2, and we're all dandy. So that's where I should have been embarrassed, but I just find it hilarious. You know?
And nobody noticed. That's the crazy part.
Oh, they did.
They
They
didn't-
literally
they didn't
talked
even
about it on the
realize. They were
cast.
like,
no, they talked about
This
it.
this
during
guy
the-
looks different, but
Yeah. Anyway, what's your?
and then they cut back. Then when the game was over, you were hosting the desk.
yeah. So that was enjoyable.
Honestly, I've been thinking. I cannot think of a really embarrassing moment. But the thing you did mention to me, I think, or about yourself, I think that's actually the one that resonates the most with me because I'm an expert
Really?
commentator, right? So when people
Expert.
watch yeah, it's like color commentary, expert commentary, whatever you want to call it. People are expecting that I know everything about this game, right? And sometimes I will speak with so much confidence about how a spell works, like I'm sure. And then being wrong is actually pretty embarrassing because, you know,
Yeah.
I am using so much time and energy on this game, but it's a game that's constantly changing. Patches change heroes around, and I don't play every hero all the time, right? So sometimes I'll be like, I could have sworn it works like this, and then I go look up the changelog, and it changed literally 2 years ago, and I didn't know. You know?
I get that all
These
the time.
kind of
dude.
things are pretty
Yeah.
fun. This happens to me as well, and you know, I play this game a lot of hours every day, and it still
It's
happens.
all these patch notes over the
that's the
years,
most
and they go back and
embarrassing
forth with the changes too over time. Like
Yeah,
the thing
that's
that
the
I
most
was
confusing thing is when it's back to the old state.
this literally happened a couple days ago. It's even in a VOD on our channel. I was adamant that you could not sell BKB. That was changed years ago, apparently, and it was only a thing
BKB
for
has
like
had different.
it was only a thing for a few weeks. I think it wasn't even very long. So
Yeah, that
it's
item
like-
has gone through some different iterations for sure.
all right, are you ready for? By the way, thanks to Black. This is probably Black 2NE1 Jack. I don't know how to pronounce your name.
I mean, it's blackjack, right?
Blackjack.
And then something in between.
Something in between. All right. He named this segment "We
Black
Rate
2 and 1
Things."
Jack?
People found this super cringy, by the way, which I'm surprised by. I thought it was hilarious, but you know,
Okay.
you have your paper ready to go.
Yep.
So the question today, and you're writing down from me, right?
I'm guessing yours.
I've already
Or I'm
forgotten
s-
how we
I'm-
did that.
Okay. So I'm rating from 1 to 10 how much
Mine.
I think you do this.
Yes,
Right?
correct.
Yes. Okay.
How many
what
times
is
do you
10?
watch?
But this isn't about
No,
how
no,
many
this isn't
times,
one to
right?
no. This is not 1 to 10. This is how many
Okay, this
times
is
do you wash
just-
your hands a day?
Okay, so it's like limitless.
It's limitless, yes.
Okay.
And you got to guesstimate.
right.
How many times do you wash your hands in a given day on average, would you say?
Okay. And I'm guessing for you. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
Oh, boy. I'm scared about this answer that you're going to give.
Okay.
All right, so
ready.
who do you want to start with?
I'll start with yours, okay?
Okay. So you put up wait, you're not supposed to put up the number. All right, you
I
put
put up
a
a 5.
You failed this one already. You put up
Okay,
a 5.
what is it? Yeah.
I actually wasn't thinking. What? What? We've ruined this segment again. Cringe.
It's really complicated.
It is. I have made it quite complicated. Okay, I would have said, how many times do I think I wash my hands a day? I didn't even think of an answer for myself. I'd say about 8. 8 times a day.
8. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to try to do this one correctly. So I want you to give me how many
I
times
should tell you them. Yeah.
Yeah. How many times do you wash
What
your
I
hands a
reckon.
day? Not what you think I'm going to give you. How many times do you wash your hands a day?
I would say on average probably 10.
Boom, bitch. 10. I wrote that kind of small.
Did
10.
you guess that? Nice.
That's right.
Did you notice, by the way, that the 5 I held up was the 5 from last week?
I did not. I
just
notice
used
that.
the same paper, so I didn't need to. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
Well,
the reason
you
I
think of
gave
me
you
disgusting.
a little bit of backstory on this, the reason I gave you the 5 was that last time we talked about it,
Yeah.
the way you presented it, you made it sound like you were literal filth. So
Wait, what did I say?
it definitely did influence my. Or you were talking about something like whenever you went to the bathroom to take a piss or something, you wouldn't always wash your hands.
I
think that's
never
what you
wash
said,
I
right?
never wash my hands.
But you
if I'm-
still do it 8 times a day.
Yes. So
So-
okay, here's
okay.
the thing.
Let's
Go ahead.
expand on this. What do you wash your hands after? Okay, what's your go-to? When do you wash your hands?
When
How
I
do you
when
get
they
8?
when I obviously when I take a dump, which is once a day,
Uh-huh.
let's say on average. And other than that, just when I feel like they're dirty, which apparently is 7 other times a day. So, here's the thing. And I know this is probably physiologically incorrect to think. So, number 1, if I'm out of the house and I take a leak at like a public bathroom, I will 100% wash my hands every time. If I do not leave, like let's say today, I haven't actually left the house today, which is very normal because I'm a hermit.
Yeah.
Like I have my hands down my pants all the time, syndereN. Like all the time.
Okay.
It's just the thing I do. Nikki is disturbed by
Can
it all the
appreciate
time.
that in a man.
It's just the thing I do. I'm not going to wash my hands every time I touch my junk. Okay. It's just to keep them warm. It's a nice warm place for my hands. The other thing is,
that's pretty weird, actually. Now
this
that
is
you
the
say it like that.
physiological comment that I made before. I understand that you are uncircumcised and I am circumcised. I feel like that might make a little bit of a difference. Is
Okay. Go on. I'm listening.
I don't want to get into. Anytime I think of your penis, which is very often, syndereN, I just think of cheese. The uncircumcised penis disgusts me on a level I can't even begin to explain.
Okay.
It disgusts
Well, you are
me.
lactose intolerant, so that's understandable. Remember when we started this episode? Look at this thing that it says in the screen. It's literally 2 places on the screen right now. If you're watching the VOD and not listening to the podcast, we have these 2 big boxes that say sponsor us. And we're doing our absolute best to completely sabotage any future relations with any brands here.
Oh my god.
Okay, all right, let me give you my rundown of when I wash my hands. Okay, so first of all, I don't put my hands in my pants all the time, which I think is the norm. I think I am the one who's in the normal,
I'll
on the
agree
normal
with you on
side of
that
things here,
one.
okay? When I put my hands in my pants, it's generally in my pockets, either to get something out of my pockets or because it's cold outside. Then I will put my
Right.
hands in my pockets. When I walk around in public, I don't shove my hands down my junk.
I don't do that either. Not in public. No.
Okay, all right,
Just
good.
at home.
All right, so what you're saying is when you're out in public, you should wash your hands less, actually. So I wash my hands every time I go to the bathroom, no matter what, okay? If I pee, if I take a dump, I guess I don't wash my hands if I shower, okay? Because then you're washing your hands in there.
Right.
I wash my hands when I cook, which,
that's
or
normal, of
prepare
course.
some sort of food. Like
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
go to the kitchen and I do anything with food, I wash my hands too. So
Yeah,
I guess
same.
on total, I think it adds up to something like 10 times a day. And if I cook something that is, like something with poultry or whatever, I wash my hands multiple times actually during it. Like
Yep.
I've
I
been
agree.
taught kitchen hygiene by my parents. They've put a lot of emphasis on if you cook something with uncooked meat, Make sure you're very careful with that. And, I respect that. I think, and then at the same time, I love eating tartar. So it's a bit of a disconnect, I guess, in a way.
When eating, yeah, like if I go to a restaurant and my hands are already clean, I still wash my hands. Whether it's with like what are those called? The
hand sanitizers?
Hand sanitizer, or if I go to the bathroom, I actually wash my hands.
I always wash my hands when I go to a restaurant too. Absolutely.
So,
before I start eating.
Generally speaking, I feel like I am, my hands are pretty clean most of the time. If you're hanging around me at home, then, well.
I mean, okay, I have to ask now, okay, because there's a disconnect in my mind here. You say you wash your hands when they feel dirty.
Yeah. But
you don't necessarily wash your hands after you pee if your hands don't feel dirty, correct?
Well, so here's the thing. If I touch my penis, which is not always a thing, taking a leak, because I wear pajama pants. I don't need to do any crazy stuff to take a leak. If I do,
and you have American toilets, they're really big, so they're easy to hit.
So what's the difference between that and me like putting my hand down my pants while I'm watching TV? Nothing to me.
No, but that's what I mean. Like if you need to wash your hands 8 times during the day, it's probably because you touch your junk all the time, and that's why your hands feel dirty.
Well, the only time
So what you're saying is if you didn't do that, you would probably be washing your hands 5 times a day.
I don't consider my junk to be necessarily dirty. That's the thing. I shower regularly.
What makes your hands feel dirty then? Your mouse and keyboard? Is it food?
Mouse and keyboard. Even my phone. Like the phone is one of the dirtiest things in existence.
Probably clean your mouse and keyboard then.
No, like what do you need to clean your hands for unless you're eating or doing something where you need your hands to be clean? It's not like I'm touching my face all the time. I mean, even if I did, nothing's gonna happen.
I mean, that's true. That's a bad habit that I have, though. I have a tendency of touching my face.
Like
so
I actually
totally
get
see that being a bigger deal.
to a point where, like, if I'm traveling, I'm kind of OCD about cleaning my hands, actually, because I find travel to be more disgusting than a circumcised penis. In fact, I think planes are disgusting, airports are disgusting, just overall disgusting. So anyway, that is the end of the We Rate Things.
I just saw a comment in chat. I like how the overlay says this is an esports podcast.
Hey, it was an esports podcast for 90%. All right, that's what
competitive hand washing.
Before we close out the episode, I do want to say one thing. I know you're not interested in this, but it's a huge deal, so I just wanted to get it out there.
Okay.
The NBA draft lottery is today. I am very nervous. I have very low expectations. Do you know what that is, syndereN?
Low expectations or the NBA draft lottery?
NBA draft lottery.
It's something with basketball. Do they draw numbers about who gets priority or something?
Yeah, pretty much. So the way that it used to be, as of like last year, it was like this. The worst team in the league has the best chance to get the number 1 pick.
Best chance.
Yeah, best chance. It's still a lottery. It's still ping pong balls.
In the NFL, it's not a lottery, correct? Like it's literally just.
I think so. Yeah, but
worst placement, first pick.
Right. And the idea is because there's a chance, there's less opportunity or less incentive to tank, as it were. Okay.
Understood.
So last year was the last time that it was de-escalating odds from the bottom up, right? So last year, the Suns actually were the worst record in the league. They had a 25% chance to get the number 1 pick, and we got it for the first time in franchise history. So this time, they changed the odds. So the bottom 3 have the same chance, okay? And they kind of spread it out overall. So
this year, the bottom again? Or
we are we are the bottom 3. So we have a 14% chance to get the number 1 pick, but we could also fall to the 7th pick. So there's a huge discrepancy. And here's the big deal about it, syndereN.
But wait, okay, how does it work? So 14% chance of getting first pick, and if you don't get it, what's your chance of getting second pick?
I'd have to look it up, but like second pick is about the same, like 13, 14%.
Okay.
There's a random one that's number 4, I think, is like a 20-something percent. It's all over the place. But anyway.
Can I just say that this system sounds absolutely terrible?
It's better than the NFL. Like, if you had the worst team every time gets the best pick, then you would have teams that would literally not put 5 players on the court. They would lose on purpose every time. Because there's huge like implications on the draft. Like, for my example, this draft.
Does that happen, though?
Yes, it already happens to a degree, for sure. Teams will lose on purpose. They'll sit their best players and call them injured just so they'll lose games. 100% it happens.
Okay, I mean
because they're not going to make the playoffs, right? So there's no point in winning if you're the team. Anyway, so to finish this up, the Suns or the draft this year is very interesting because the number 1 pick is the most touted player since LeBron James. Okay,
Ooh.
His name is Zion Williamson, and he is a goddamn beast.
And when he plays his best, he goes Super Zion.
Yes, he is. He's a beast, man. I'm telling you, this guy's going to be a superstar. But anyway, so the Suns If they get 3 through 7, we will probably trade the pick, so I'll be very sad. If we get number 2, we'll take this point guard that could be good in the future, but doesn't change our... I'm sorry, I know that you're not interested in this, but if we get the number 1 pick, syndereN, it's life-changing, literally. Like, I would buy season tickets tomorrow if
you get that guy in your team.
Like, think of it this way. I don't know what the equivalent for whatever sport you watch is, soccer, aka football.
I watch Dota.
So, okay, Dota. This is like if a team got Miracle or Sumail.
And people knew they were Miracle or Sumail.
Yes, and they knew that. They knew they were going to become that. It's it's franchise changing.
And so, you think, okay, so a player like that, being that, having that much pressure on your shoulders and that big of a name before you even really make it for yourself in the biggest league, do you think is that a good or a bad thing?
Probably a bad thing. So LeBron James is like the closest example I can come. It's not the same kind of player, but he was the most touted of all time, and he turned out to be just as good as advertised. It doesn't happen very often. This guy will probably be very good.
They fall flat compared because the expectations are so high. Like,
yes,
how can you deliver on that kind of expectation if you're...
I think barring injuries, he will be very good at the very least, but whether he's like superstar status is unknown. And at the very least, like, you have to look at it from an organization standpoint. If you get this pick, even if he's not like everything he was touted to be, you're going to sell tons of tickets. It's a lot of money. Like, it's huge. So I will be...
I wish you best of luck with the dice.
Thank you, friend. It's
nothing
it's
like
ping
when
pong balls.
A lot of millions and people's futures are decided with a roll of the dice. I can always appreciate that.
All right, we can do this for another segment. Do you have an idea for something that would work better? I'm sure the NBA would love to hear it.
It's a bit... It's hard to relate to because European sports don't do this at all. So I've never grown up with the system.
There's no draft?
We don't have drafting like that.
Oh, I see.
The way it works in football, for example, in Europe, is that if you're a talented player, you get discovered on a lower tier team, and then a top tier team gives you a contract and a chance as a talent. It's kind of more similar to how it works in Dota. Like, you're playing for a tier 2 team, or you're playing pubs, and somebody discovers you, a talent scout from a team comes to you, and they're like, hey, do you want to try to play for our club? There's like not this
it's all out there. It's very
open. There isn't a structured system where you have to go from A to B to C. You could technically get discovered when you're 12 and then play for Manchester United when you're 17. Like, if you're good enough, you don't need to go through that system. So I just don't... It's so far from what I'm used to. Like, I understand the system and how it works, and I think the idea behind it is really good. Like, that it's a way of keeping the scene more dynamic. It's not always the same teams that have all the top players, because that's a genuine problem in football, right? Like, the strong franchises have all the fucking strong players.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they win all the time, but maybe it could be interesting with that dynamic. But at the same time, it's like a two-sided coin. It can also be great to have these superstar teams because it sells. Manchester United is a fucking huge brand for a reason, right?
I don't want to go... I'm not going to extend this any further because I know not a lot of people are interested in NBA talk, but that's kind of happening right now. Like, there's a salary cap in the NBA, so you can only put so much money in a team for players. Otherwise, you go over the limit, you start paying a shit ton. Right now, there is a super team in the NBA, and I think it's bad for the NBA. It's really bad. It's just, it's not fun.
I can
you know who's going to win every year.
Behind it. It's just if the implementation is good. Okay. But
all right. So that will wrap up. That's the one time we'll talk about the NBA, although I wish I could talk to somebody about it all day. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Wish me luck. syndereN, thank you so much. Any last words before we bid everybody adieu?
I'm rolling my imaginary dice for you right now. Oh,
thank you, syndereN.
Better luck next year.
That one is great. Thank you, syndereN. Until next time, everybody, goodbye.
Oh, it was a 3. Bye.
You.